What's up, world renowned family? We are back and we're continuing in Brian Tracy's Sales Success book, one of the fantastic sales resources I believe that every sales professional should have in their library. We're going to pick up in chapter 11. Chapter 11, we're talking about the friendship factor. Now, we hear a lot about relationship selling, and Brian goes into relationship selling here in this book, but it all goes back to friendship. So I'm going to read a couple of excerpts right here from the book, and then I'll just add some of my thoughts as well. In thousands of interviews, when customers are asked to think of the words that best describe how they feel about the top salespeople who call on them, the first and most important word is always friend. Earlier in the book, we discussed relationship selling. This is establishing a high-quality, credible, trust-based relationship with the prospect before you make any attempt to persuade him to buy or use your product or service. Now, since I am in real estate, a lot of the conversations that I will be having will be based on the real estate service. If you're in a different service, then of course you could, refer to that, or if you sell a product, you could just refer to that product. Now, and he did mention earlier, we talked about relationship selling. If this is your first video, or if you haven't seen our previous videos, go onto our YouTube, our Facebook channel, IGTV, and you can find other videos surrounding Brian Tracy's Sales Success. And if you do not have this book, I'm not getting anything from it, but if you do not have this book, I encourage you to go out and get it. Now, why focus on friendship? Friendship is an essential requirement and the foundation of professional selling. The first job you have to do in the selling process is establish trust. So people work with people they know, like, and trust. But the difference is the first step that you must take is to actually establish trust. And how can you establish trust? There are a number of ways that you can do it with reputation and all of those that we'll talk about a little bit later, but most importantly, it is coming off as a friend. In the relationship industry, in the real estate industry here in South Florida, we hear that everyone has a friend in real estate. So when we are trying to get someone to buy or sell with us, what we'll find is the first person they go back to is the family friend or someone they have a previous relationship with who happens to have a real estate license. So what do we want to do? We want to be that friend who has the real estate license. So I know that my agents, the agents that I come in contact with on a daily or weekly basis, they always say, when I ask them, why didn't you get the conversion? Why didn't you convert the prospect into a client or a customer? Well, they knew someone that was in the industry. They had a friend who was in the industry. My rebuttal or my comeback or my response is, you should be that friend who's in the industry. So you want to establish trust first. The basic rule is that you cannot sell to someone you do not like. So I know us in real estate, we say, oh, we don't want to work with people that we don't like, but here is the flip. And you can also not buy from someone you don't like either. So the same is true for the buyers or the sellers in real estate as it is for us, the real estate professionals. So we can't sell to someone you don't like, and you cannot buy from someone you don't like either. Liking, trusting, and friendship are the foundations of relationship selling. So what is relationship selling? We hear a lot about different sales techniques, types of selling. Relationship selling is exactly that. You form a relationship. All of your sales are based on the connection that you have with people first, and then only after that relationship has been solidified do you even begin the sales process. So it talks about being the doctor of selling. One way to build trust, confidence, and friendship with the prospect is to take what I call the doctor of selling approach. It requires that you think about yourself as if you were a doctor of sales, a complete professional with a high code of ethics. If you visit a doctor for any reason, anywhere in the world, every legitimate doctor will always follow a three-part process: examination, diagnosis, and prescription. So examination, diagnosis, and prescription. You want to make sure, so what we do often, I say we because I am a sales professional, I am included. The first thing we do when we meet a prospect, we go straight into about us. We want to sell, 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 sell without doing the examination, the diagnosis, and then the prescription, only after we know what's wrong and how we can help. So the examination. In professional selling, the examination phase is when you ask well-prepared questions that move from the general to the particular about the customer's needs, wants, concerns, problems, and goals. So that is the examination phase of it. So for us, that's going to be when we are asking the questions, whether you're going through the structure of a call for a buyer, seller, your initial buyer consultation, maybe your marketing consultation. This is a time where you're going to be doing the examination. The diagnosis. This is when you summarize your findings as a doctor would when he gets tests back from the lab and explain to the patient, or in our case in sales, the customer, exactly what you feel is that person's true problem or need. So only after we've listened to the prospect, client, or customer do we begin to diagnose. For instance, if they say, well, I need to sell my home, you're like, okay, yes, here's why we can sell, here's why. But then after a conversation, after the examination phase, we say, okay, well, maybe you don't need to sell your home. Maybe a refinance is better. These are things that you as a sales professional, as a real estate professional, should be keeping in mind when you go meet with clients and customers. After we have the examination and the diagnosis, that's when we move to the prescription. We do not begin with the prescription, as hard as it is. And despite what other, sales coaches and everyone tell you, you don't want to go in and sell them hard, close them, close them, close them. You want to build relationships, because ultimately those professionals who focus on and concentrate on relationship selling, those are the ones who are here year in, year out. These are the professionals that we see and we wonder how they can, be relevant and how they can, still be growing and hitting a peak after 10, 20, even 30 years in an industry. Is because they've built relationships with their client base. The prescription. In the third phase of the Doctor of Selling approach, which we call the prescription, you present your product or service persuasively as being exactly the right solution to the problem or need that you and the customer have mutually identified. So the problem that you identified in the diagnosis is now going to be recognized, and you're going to give a prescription. And it says that you're going to persuasively, you want to present it persuasively, let them know this is how it's going to be a benefit to you to solve your problem. In the previous videos that we did, we talked about how people don't purchase products or services. What they're buying is a solution to some type of problem that they have, and we will talk about this problem during the prescription phase of the Doctor of Selling approach. The relationship is everything. To develop a friendly and trust-based relationship with your patient or customer, in our case, you should take a low-key, professional, client-centered and client-focused approach. So everything that we do should be client-centered and client-focused to help them reach their goals, help them achieve whatever task it is that they have in mind during the real estate or the sales or buying process. And then as a result, we will achieve or will reach our goal as well. Caring, courtesy, and respect. A truly friendly relationship is based on caring, courtesy, and respect. The more you focus on selling without selling, the faster you will build the relationship factor into your sales relationship, and the more likely you will be to make the sale and keep the sale at the end of the conversation. So what is selling without selling? That's when you go in and when you're genuinely concerned, or you're genuinely focused on meeting the needs and exceeding the needs of the client, Once you do that, we'll talk about in subsequent chapters here of things that we can do to almost trigger a sales trigger to get buyers, to get sellers to want to purchase your service, want to purchase your product almost instantly. And a lot of that comes from the selling without selling technique or an agenda. An agenda doesn't have to have a negative connotation to it, but when you go in and your goal is to sell without selling, you'll see that you get much better results faster when you focus on the relationship side of the sale. So here's one of the action exercises that Brian Tracy gives us. It says, to build a friendlier relationship faster, imagine that your customer is a fascinating person with a rich inner life. Ask questions and listen expectantly, as though this person is about to say something profound and moving. So just think about that. Take those notes. That was chapter 11 of the Sales Success. We'll be diving into chapter 12 in the next video. Until next time, don't be average, be world renowned. Most importantly, if you want to continue going through the Brian Tracy Sales Success book with us, make sure you find the other videos on our platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, IGTV, whatever it is. There are ways that you can take your sales success to higher levels. Love you guys. Don't be average. Again, be world renowned.